to DIY Sprouts. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about all of those critters and creatures that pose a threat to your garden. Specifically, we're going to be talking about IPM, or Integrated Pest Management. As the name suggests, this is a style of dealing with pests, be it insects, disease, or animals, that is based on a series of decisions that it becomes integrated into your garden management plan. Now in IPM, there are 4 different stages:
prevention, monitoring and identifying, setting action thresholds, and control.
Now these stages are based on a mindset that pest problems are not a one and done type scenario, but rather an ongoing process that starts before the season and continues long past it. Now let's head back to the garden to learn all about these 4 stages.
It all starts with prevention and setting your garden up for success by stopping problems before they begin. Much like humans, plants are better equipped to fight off diseases and pests when they are strong and healthy. So keep your plants happy by giving them proper amounts of water, sunlight, and ensuring they have healthy soil and plenty of airflow. Other forms of prevention include being strategic in your plantings. This might look like selecting varieties of crops that are disease or pest resistant, or something as simple as just having a diversified collection of plants. This is also the stage where you're going to want to do some strategic planning. I highly recommend, especially for first-time gardeners, that you take the time to create a potential pest list.
Start by making a list of all the crops that you're wanting to grow. Then, by consulting resources like the ones found in the resource guide down in the description, learn what common threats those different crops face and make a note of it next to that crop on your chart.
The goal of this is not to freak you out by seeing everything that could possibly go wrong with your garden. Every plant, every garden is gonna have some pest issue at some point. That's just part of the gig. The goal of this exercise is to familiarize yourself with the resources that are out there, and B, when a problem does arise, you've created a starting point for yourself by being able to search for the most common problems first. After doing what you can in prevention, next comes monitoring and identifying. This really boils down to simply being aware of what's happening in your garden so you can act before things really get out of hand. I recommend keeping some type of record, photos or a journal, so you can keep track without having to commit all of that information to memory. Then comes proper identification. There is nothing worse than prescribing a treatment for your garden only to find out that it's not actually the problem that you thought it was, thus meaning you wasted time, money, and potentially did harm to your garden by treating for the wrong thing. When it comes to getting help with proper identification, I would start by checking out the resource guide that's listed down in the description. It's going to contain several links to various web resources that can provide lots of great information about pests, be it insects, disease, or animals. And then of course, I'm always available for any questions that you might have, and my email is also down below in the description. This brings us to our 3rd step of IPM, which is setting an action threshold. Now, an action threshold is the point where pest populations or environmental conditions dictate that action has to be taken. Now, this is going to be a different point for everybody, but typically it has something to do with the economic threat. Now, an economic threat is determined by when the problem starts affecting your return on investment.
Think about how much time, money, and resources you put in to your garden and what you need to get out of your garden to make that investment worthwhile.
Again, this is going to look different from person to person, but that action threshold might also change throughout the course of the season. In the beginning, you might be leaping into action at the very first sign of danger. But by the end, after months of a healthy, productive garden, you might be more tolerant of more minor concerns. Last, we come to control, which includes all of those strategies to deal with the actual pests themselves. The goal in IPM is to balance high effectiveness with low risk. The way that IPM does that is it breaks control into 4 different categories and orders them so you start with the lowest risk first and work up to the higher risk.
First, we have cultural control, which is the management of the environment or taking preventative measures. Mechanical or physical control, which is directly removing or physically keeping pests away. Next, we have biological control, which is the reduction of pests through natural enemies by providing favorable habitats or through introducing them to the population. And then last, we have chemical control, which is the application of topical agents that disrupt the pest life cycle or their feeding habits.
That this is just an overview of what IPM is. There are thousands of different ways that IPM can take shape, and really it's probably some of what you're already doing. So the goal of this video is just to help you set up a framework and give you resources as you start your own IPM journey. And there we have it, the 4 stages of integrated pest management: prevention, monitoring and identifying, setting action thresholds, and control. Now, don't forget to check out the resource handout listed in the description, and don't be afraid to follow with me if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, grow healthy, grow sustainably, grow it yourself.